Of all the people on the planet, kids are probably the worst at staying focused. There's reasons for that, but there's also ways to help kids stay focused. Let's start with why. Most of us are like this, and kids certainly are. If you have a strong enough why, you'll be able to figure out the how. Why would your kids focus on whatever it is you want them to focus on? Notice you've got some answers to that. Yeah, those are your answers. They're rumbling around in your parental head, and they have nothing to do with what your kid is thinking. So I want you to go to a child's level for a moment. Just take your mind to that place where your child is. I say child, we could be talking about your teenager or anyone that you're responsible for here. Little kids, toddlers, teenagers, put your mind on their level and ask the question, why should they focus? If you can't come up with a good reason why they would focus right now, then they probably can't either. We want to address this at their level. Why should they focus? I've talked in other videos about turning our words from garbage into gold, so that when we speak, our children pay attention to us. And they esteem our words to be so valuable. Why? Because we have given them a strong enough why to listen to us. Usually by providing consequences that are based on what we're asking them to pay attention to. Pay attention to that why, and let's see if we can get clear about providing them with a good reason to stay focused. Here's a quick example that has to do with little kids. I remember when my kids were young. And like most kids, they weren't very good at picking up their toys and coming to the dinner table when I asked them to do that. They were busy thinking of other things. So picture this. I go to my sons. I had 3 little boys at the time. This was before my daughter was born. And I said to them, guys, pick up your toys so that we can have dinner. It's time for cleanup, right? And being the inexperienced parent that I was at the time, I didn't go in and make sure that they were focused and following up and doing the task. So of course, what do? They keep playing. They're not scrambling to pick up their toys. I did an experiment once where I gave them a strong enough why to listen to my voice. And here's how I changed it. I said, guys, pick up everything you want to keep and then come on in for dinner. Now, what did they do? Well, they ignored me, of course, and they kept playing. So what did I do? I gave them sufficient time to have taken care of the task, and then I went in and started gathering up all the toys that obviously they didn't want to keep, right? Because they didn't pick them up, right? And I'm not mad. I'm just, kind of picking up toys and putting them in a bag. And my oldest noticed. Ryan mentions to the other guys, guys, come on, let's get these toys picked up. So they all start helping. And I was appreciative for the help. No time at all, playroom's cleaned up, we're ready to go in and join Mom for dinner. Now, what happens to all those toys in the bag? Well, I've got plans for those. I use those for other learning experiences and as incentives and whatnot. I've got uses for those toys, but the kids didn't want them apparently, so I get to take those into custody. Are the kids happy about that? No, they're not. So they start coming to me, Dad, can we have those toys back? And I'm like, yeah, of course you can. If you'll do this for me, if you'll perform that task, if you'll do this chore, whatever. See, I'm using that as a learning opportunity for them. I'm still calm. I'm good. I'm happy. But now they're feeling the pain. You know what I mean? And honestly, let's be clear about the level of pain that they're feeling. It's real. I don't want to diminish that because for them it's a big deal, right? So I want to have empathy for that. But relatively speaking, and I know that they've got to learn to be responsible and to take care of their things, because the world is going to kick their trash if they get out of my home without learning this. So I keep that perspective, right? That's important because that helps you to stay calm as a parent. Now, fast forward a couple of days later, when I approach them and I say, hey guys, pick up everything that you want to keep. Boom, they're on it, right? Why? Because they've learned to pay attention and to focus when I talk. I gave them a strong enough why. That leads me to the next tip. Make sure they understand the how. As kids are learning, they don't always know exactly how to do what you're asking them to do. As they're focusing on your words, now we want to make sure that they have the ability to do what we're asking them to do, whether it's homework or chores or being nice to their sister or whatever it is. This often requires modeling so that you can show them what you mean. Tone of voice, for example. When you can talk to me the way I'm talking to you, then we can have this conversation. See, you're modeling for them. Here's how my voice sounds. Notice that I have a calm voice, calm face, calm body. And as a parent, you get to model that for them. Calm voice, calm face, calm body. And that helps to show them the how to pay attention, how to focus, how to follow through, how to perform the task. From a very practical standpoint, let's increase the ability for our children to be successful by what I call situational planning. This is where we set up the environment in a way that maximizes the possibility for success. If you have, for example, a lot of things that are on low shelves or out on tables, and you've got some children coming over to the house that are an age that you know would be interested in those things, and you don't want them to be broken or soiled or damaged in some way, you remove those before the child comes over. Now that's an example if you've got children coming over. I experience that here at the office all the time because I have little knickknacks and things here around the office. Well, if I know I've got a child coming that's going to be at the height and age that those things are going to be very enticing, I rearrange the office before they come. This is an example of situational planning. Now, if you've already got young kids in the home, which you probably do, then you already know this. You've already baby-proofed your home, right? That's what we're talking about with situational planning. You can do the same thing for specific activities or for an outing that has certain expectations attached to it, like you're going to church or you're going to the doctor's office or someplace that requires some kind of behavioral containment. Take the supplies and the resources with you that allow you to do some situational planning and set up the highest possibility for success. As we're talking about keeping kids focused, notice that there are a lot of distractions. And actually, your kids are going to notice more distractions than you do because sometimes you get used to it. Visual distractions, auditory distractions. There are so many homes in America particularly where the television is always on. Not a big fan. That is an immediate distractor. If you're having trouble having your kids focus, just look around the room, see if there's any screens that are on. Interesting. We can do some situational planning around that. Let's keep the television off unless there is a specific program that we watch on purpose. This is Live on Purpose TV. So I'm a proponent of having a purpose for it. If there's not a purpose, let's keep it turned off and out of the realm of distraction. This is part of what I mean by the situational planning. Perhaps one of the most important things to remember as we're helping our kids to focus is that there are developmental norms and expectations. We do not expect a child who is in the preschool years, for example, to be able to attend to anything for more than maybe 30 to 60 seconds. That's typical. In fact, a good rule of thumb is to expect that your child might be able to attend and focus for the number of minutes that corresponds with their years in age. This is a basic guideline that works fairly well. Now, it breaks down in some circumstances. But if you've got an 18-month-old child and you're expecting them to pay attention or focus for even 2 minutes, that may be overkill. Let's gear it down to their development. As kids develop the ability to do what we call metacognition, I've talked about this in some other videos as well. The metacognition is the ability to think about your thinking. And for kids, that doesn't even kick in until they're probably 6, 7, 8 years old. Now, some younger kids can do it a little bit, but developmentally, it doesn't even kick in until a little later in childhood. So, knowing that, we can't expect them to have a lot of insight about their own behavior or the impact that their behavior is having on others. They're still in the process of learning it. And we're going to help them to learn it through our modeling and through the teaching that we do with our children. I think the reason I mentioned the development is because I want to encourage you to just be patient. You already know that parenting requires a lot of patience, right? Which is helped if you will take care of yourself. Make sure you're meeting your needs well. You're getting enough sleep. You're eating a balanced diet. You're getting regular exercise. Because as a parent, that's going to affect your level of tolerance and patience and the ability to withstand some of the craziness and the goofiness that kids are going to bring just by virtue of them being kids. Let's not expect our kids to focus like an adult could focus. That's unrealistic. Gear it down to their level of development, and then you will feel a lot less frustration, and so will your kids. Well, that'll give you a few ideas. We've got more ideas available to you. If you haven't yet had a chance to check out the Parenting Power Up, this is a course where Vicki and I put together a number of different modules, specific topics. They're audio format with supporting videos and downloadable charts and graphs. Check it out at parentingpowerup.com.
Her head was down, face locked onto the phone.